So I'm very excited today to be able to talk to Giulio Cerroni, who is the CEO of Ixico. He's very kindly agreed to provide a company update. And if you're not familiar with the company, Ixico provides AI data analytics for or supporting clinical development in neurological diseases. And that's probably a good point to bring in Giulio. Perhaps you could provide us with a more layman's introduction to the company that non-specialists could understand.
Yeah, no, Gareth, you did a good job there. So as I said, basically put very simply, we develop and deploy advanced AI-driven data analytics services for the global pharmaceutical clinical trials market. We're looking to develop therapies for neurological diseases such as Alzheimer's, Parkinson's and Huntington's disease. So we're very much a specialist in neurological diseases. And the reason we stay focused in neurological diseases is because that's the second largest R&D area for pharma after oncology. And so for a company of our size, strategically, the view is that there's plenty of runway for growth, and it also plays to our strengths. And the other thing I would say is the other reason for focus on neuro is the interest by pharma in rare diseases, of which many are neurological diseases. And the way that we create value for our clients is we enable them to better interpret the meaning of the increasing amounts of data being obtained from medical images in brain scans. And more recently, an interest as well from pharma to start looking at data collected from wearable biosensors used in clinical trials. So two key points there is that medical imaging is increasingly being adopted as a very important modality to work with biomarkers for the industry, but also the interest in wearable biosensors because of the interest of monitoring patients in their normal working or home environment rather than having to go to a clinical site. So that's what we do, and that's how we add value.
Okay. Thanks very much for that. And I mean, I guess hot off the presses, you've released your half year results this morning. Could you give us an idea of where the company is at the moment?
Yeah, sure. So we've made tremendous progress in recent years in creating value for all our stakeholders. And I'm proud of the achievements and to be able to describe Ixico today as a high growth, profitable, debt-free, well-capitalized technology company. I mean, this management team and the reports in the results this morning, we've delivered 31% top line growth that's a compounded growth rate over the past 4 years of interims with increasing profitability. Obviously delighted to have reported circa 15% EBITDA today in our first 6 months for this year, which follows on from last year, which was our first maiden year of profitability. So in the same period last year, we reported about £100,000 of profit. For the full year of last year, around about £500,000. So delighted to report the £700,000 that we have for the first 6 months of this year. And of course, that does include several weeks of responding to the COVID pandemic.
Mm-hmm. Okay, I mean that's probably a good point to interject there. I mean, it has been a fantastic set of results. How has the company been impacted by COVID-19 then?
Yeah, so as you would expect, the industry, the clinical trials market has been impacted by COVID-19, but I would say different players in very different ways. And so in terms of Ixico specifically, so we'll start with our employees, because obviously well-being of staff being first and foremost. Very pleased to say that none of our staff were reported or took days off sick because of C-19, so that's very positive. We were also very able and very quickly transitioned our staff to work 100% remotely with minimal disruptions to our service level. And that's reflective of sort of people we have working for us, but also the technology that we have that's been able to enable that to happen and make sure that service levels were sustained and weren't impacted during that period of uncertainty. The other thing to highlight is that our business model, is one that was designed to operate remotely between ourselves and our clients. And that's important to understand. So clinical trials operate all over the world, and we run anything between 15 and 25 projects at a time, each of which has multiple clinical sites linked to them all over the world. And our trial tracker remote site model basically allows us to gather patient data without having to travel to those sites. Now, clearly in the COVID environment, that's been very helpful. Many other companies have had to basically revise their models and try to figure out a new way of working on the hoof. Whereas we were able to basically maintain service levels with clients because we have always been remote in terms of receiving medical images from our sites all over the world. And then finally, whilst we were trying to figure all this out, we did put our recruitment plans on hold, and as well as managing our discretionary spend. But I'm pleased to say that we had no staff reductions, we didn't implement any furlough, and we had no salary reductions. And because of where we are now, we've actually restarted our recruitment plans. So that's the sort of picture in terms of our organisation and people. In terms of the business, we obviously did a very quick and detailed review, study by study, in terms of the potential impact when the initial uncertainties arose. And I'm pleased to say that to date, less than 20% of our studies have been affected, or we've received any indication from the sponsor to say that there would be a slowdown in any way. But in particular, what's particularly important is that none of our largest studies have been affected. And that again is reflected in the numbers we've shown in the update this morning. So what that means is, in terms of the order book that we have and the contracted work that we have, we continue to be positive about delivering growth this year. However, we would say that the biggest impact is probably in the pace at which we can win and contract new contracts going forward. So clearly, pharma is pausing decisions on new trials, and so they haven't gone away. They're being pushed on. So we might be seeing, at the beginning of the year, we had a pipeline where we were expecting to book a certain number of new contracts in the second half of this year. We're basically signaling that we continue to expect to win new contracts in the second half of this year, but not at the pace that we were anticipating pre-COVID. So the implications of that are that it will have some impact on our revenues towards the end of this year, because we do actually generate revenue from contracts won within their first 12 months. And that impact is probably going to be seen, said, the second half of this year and probably going into 2021. So I guess the signaling there is that whilst we continue to be confident we can deliver double-digit growth this year, which I think is very commendable in the current climate, we're signaling that it's probably unrealistic to expect us to continue to deliver 30-40% growth rate every 6 months as we have done in the past 3 years.
Yeah, no, that's completely understandable. And I mean, I guess that that kind of takes us to for the next 18 months. What does the strategy or the vision for the company look like over the next 5 to 10 years, say?
Yeah. So as I said, the fundamentals of the business are the same. They haven't gone away. Alzheimer's isn't going away quickly. Parkinson's isn't going away quickly. So basically, my answer to you is continued execution of the 5-point plan that has served us so well. And when Amati became an investor in Ixico, we laid out what that 5-point plan was. That's around about 2 years ago, in actual fact. And that plan has served us very well. It's a plan based on focused on delivering and operating at scale, accelerating our penetration of the clinical trials market, diversifying into new indications, and from our order book, we've clearly demonstrated success in being able to do that. We've diversified into, as I said, rare diseases such as Huntington's, such that we're now a market leader in those sort of therapeutic areas. And also our desire to follow the asset through the development process so that we become a partner into the later, larger clinical phases of development. And the contract that we announced in April, which was a record order, £10.5 million, that was a phase 3 study in Huntington's. And that's a very good example of following the asset through the development. We were involved at the very early stages in phase 1. We went into phase 2 with the biotech company, which subsequently licensed that asset to a big pharma. Now big pharma's taken it into phase 3. They've taken us along with it. and we've scaled up our operations. And again, all of that is playing through in the growth that we're delivering. So that's basically the model, and we want to just basically multiply that model and scale as we continue to progress with those assets. Innovation is a very important part of the plan, and innovation in particular in process automation in terms of our operational capabilities, but also in terms of developing the industry's leading portfolio of analytics for neurological diseases. And just to give you an example from an operational point of view, we can do analysis in a matter of minutes compared to previously something that would take a couple of hours for a very highly trained specialist radiologist. Wow. And then in terms of the portfolio of analytics, because we're developing analytics using very contextualized data for predetermined cohorts of patients, it means that the analytics that we develop are very good and provide a lot of data and interpretation for our partners. But what it also means is that those same algorithms can be redeployed in other therapeutic areas, which drives our diversification into those other therapeutic indications, which results in a very high return on investment on our R&D dollars. And so those are two examples of investment in operational delivery and innovation that drives increased margin, because we're able to respond very quickly and develop new products and commercialize them very quickly is a fundamental part of our strategy for the next 5 years.
Brilliant. Thanks very much, Giulio. It's been fantastic talking to you.
Excellent. Well, thank you very much, Gareth.